So back in July, when the Nintendo Switch OLED model was announced, I had this to say about cloud gaming. Studios are going to become less and less interested in investing in the potential months or years of time to get their games running on the Switch. Now, the cloud is something that I think publishers are going to start leaning on more on the Nintendo Switch. Publishers want their games on the Switch because it makes them money, but many of them don't want to spend the millions investing in getting these ports up and running as impossible ports. The cloud is a cost-friendly equivalent for them, which at the end of the day offers the same or almost same gameplay experience. And with the Switch OLED model offering a wide Ethernet connection in the new Switch dock, I get the feeling that we're going to continue to see more cloud games to fill that void. Now, at the time, this may have been considered a hot take, but here we are, with the announcement of Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 and 2.5 Remix, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, and Kingdom Hearts 3 all coming to the Nintendo Switch. However, in a move that has confused and upset fans, these will all be cloud-based versions. Now, when they showed this off at the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate reveal, you can clearly notice that they mentioned these were PlayStation 4 versions of the games. Now, there has been a lot of confusion and upset fans about why Kingdom Hearts is coming to the Nintendo Switch in a cloud capacity, but let's kind of break this down a little bit. So HD 1.5 and 2.5 HD remixes came out on the PlayStation 3. Now, initially we know these were PS2 games, but the HD remix in particular was a PlayStation 3 game. Now, this ended up getting ported to the PlayStation 4, and this is what they were showing us at the Smash Bros. Ultimate event. So I'm probably led to believe that it's going to be based off the PS4 version, considering that's what they showed us at the event. But in any case, the question now is, well, why couldn't Square Enix offer a native port for HD 1.5 and 2.5? Well, here's where it gets interesting, because at the end of the day, the amount of time that was needed to bring these games natively to the Switch, and it doesn't matter if you're basing the source material from the PlayStation 3 version, which by God, if I was the developer tasked with porting a PS3 game to the Switch, I would be asking for at least 2 years and a lot of money to get that job done, because that would not be a simple undertaking. Now, it might be a little easier if we're basing these off the PlayStation 4 version, which is running x86, but getting a game like Kingdom Hearts 1.5 and 2.5 Remix to the Nintendo Switch, even though it sounds like it should be a no-brainer, it should be something that is quite achievable, especially considering it has its roots on the PlayStation 2, as a lot of people will be very quick to tell me, is actually a pretty complicated project. And I think what's happened here is Square Enix has basically sent bids out to their development partners and asked them, how long is this project going to take to build? And I think they were probably a little surprised at the responses. This is, for me, it sounds like a 2+ year undertaking, and many millions of dollars that would needed to be spent, probably more than the budget that Square Enix is looking to spend. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind with Kingdom Hearts, and we're just talking about 1.5 and 2.5, we haven't even discussed Kingdom Hearts 3 yet, which is a completely different thing, is that if you combine HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix together, it comes out to about 50 gigabytes. This is a very, very large game. And the question now is, well, what size cartridge do we need to fit on a Switch for physical? And that would ultimately end up being a 64 gigabyte cartridge. And the cost to manufacture those cartridges becomes very, very expensive, and for good reason. Now, before people tell me, well, Nintendo was able to get The Witcher running on the Switch, or CD Projekt Red and Saber Interactive, I should say, why can't they do the same thing here? Well, they absolutely can, but at the end of the day, Square Enix has decided that the cost that would be needed to basically foot the bill for this project, to get it over the line, to get a good quality version of Kingdom Hearts HD Remix 1.5 and 2.5 to the Switch, would just be too much money. The return on investment wouldn't be anywhere near what they were looking for. So at the end of the day, I think the decision was made just to move this game to the cloud. It's going to make them more money in the front end. There's going to be server costs and things like that to basically host the game, but I think that's something they've taken into account. Now, Kingdom Hearts 3 is a completely different animal as well. That game runs on the PlayStation 4 and the PS4 Pro, but it runs under Unreal Engine 4, and there is a lot of complexity about bringing Unreal Engine 4 games to the Nintendo Switch. There is also a lot of optimization that needs to be done, and this is not a simple port by any stretch of the imagination. If Square Enix is to bring Kingdom Hearts to the Nintendo Switch, then it needs to be at a level of quality that the fans would come to expect. And I don't think they can guarantee that, at least unless they put many years, many hours of effort to optimize that game to get it running on the Switch at a acceptable level of performance. Remember, this is not Nintendo and The Witcher 3. This is a completely different thing. So ultimately, the decision was made to bring these games to the cloud. It's not one that I agree with, but it is what it is. And if you go back and listen to my video on the Switch OLED that I kind of linked at the start of this episode, the cloud is only going to continue to be utilized going forward. I don't think it's a coincidence that Nintendo has updated their Switch dock and put an Ethernet port in there for wired Ethernet. I think there is going to be more of a dependency on cloud gaming going forward, and I would expect to see more cloud-based games get announced throughout the Switch's life cycle, and it's only going to continue. Now, there is another discussion around the next generation of Switch, or the revision of the Switch hardware. Will that alleviate some of these things? Well, that does remain to be seen. At a high level, if you give a developer more memory, more processing power, a bigger sandbox to build their games in or port their games, then yes, that would definitely help with that, and I don't think you can discount that fact. But we're in the here and now right now, and unfortunately, these kind of bigger, high-budget AAA games that ran on other systems, seeing them running on the Nintendo Switch in 2021 and beyond may be a difficult sell for many publishers. They may look to the cloud going forward. And ultimately, that's what I think has happened here with Square Enix and the Kingdom Hearts collection for the Nintendo Switch. It's cloud, it sucks, people aren't going to like it, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, Square Enix is probably thinking, well, with a good internet connection, the end user experience isn't going to be really that much different than just having the game running natively on the hardware. And I think that this is very important because over time, I think we're only going to see more cloud-based games appearing on the Switch, so I would probably be prepared to see more of these announcements kind of over the next 18 months or so, at least until we hear what's next for Nintendo as far as their hardware is concerned. But they are just my thoughts and opinions on Kingdom Hearts for the Nintendo Switch. I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. As always, if you like this episode, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye for now.